Welcome back to the 100 Club. This is a short video from myself, Ollie and Rich, because the 100 have just released some new playing conditions and they are doing some interesting things with the game of cricket. Tune in to find out. Ollie, Rich, welcome. We have had some news in the last 24 hours, so I just thought I'd get you in so we could have a quick digestion of the new playing conditions that have been released by the 100. I trust you've both seen them?
We have, indeed.
Yeah, okay. Well, without further ado, I'll pull them up on screen and let's have a quick think about what we think this will do for the tournament and for cricket as a whole. So I will give you the first one straight up, and this is released by ESPN Cricinfo, great website if you haven't seen them before. The first one is a change in terminology that I don't think is too surprising, where overs won't become the metric for counting the game, as it were, but rather it will just be done in balls as the measure of the innings progression. Any instant reactions to that one, Ollie?
Well, this has been sort of trialled, hasn't it? There's been a lot of reference to trying to simplify kind of what the scoreboard looks like. It's if you think down to most run chases now kind of tend to be tracked in terms of how many balls and how many runs are needed off how many balls. So for me, this kind of just formalizes the way that we tend to think about limited overs cricket these days anyway. So no great shakes for me.
And it sort of relates to the next one where the umpire will call 5 because we know these are going to be delivered in batches of 10, right? Because 2 sets of 5 is to be delivered from each end and then you change end. That's fine. So the umpire will then display a white card after each set of 5 and call 5 at the end of each bowler's set of 5 deliveries. Does that make sense to you, Rich?
Yeah, it's fairly simple. As we said previously, about a quarter of a standard 2020 game is people changing ends. So this is just a way of reducing transitions, but you still don't want to have bowlers having to bowl 10 balls in a row. So you get to swap after 5. It's if you already like cricket, it's a 5-ball over, regardless of what they call it.
Yeah.
Quite what the white card really does to it. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's not a blank white card. Maybe it's got some some sponsor's logo on it. I don't know, but whatever. I don't think it really affects the quality of cricket very much. So,
given most umpires' pockets, they'll spend 5 balls trying to find the thing amongst everything else that's in there. Now, I'm going to skip the next one and actually just because it follows on more naturally. The fourth one is then that the power play, and I think we knew this, will only be 25 balls of the first.
We've done that before in our format video. Yeah.
Exactly.
Knew that.
I think that
the point is
that could have that could make a difference on the way that teams approach this. So, yeah, that's probably the point is there in the way you play the game.
Is that it enforces a fielding change halfway through a set of 10, so it kind of negates that 10-ball end change thing, but a minor point, I guess. Okay, so the fielding team after that first power play can then take a 2-minute strategic timeout again. I think we knew that one. Have we had to think about or any further ideas about when a fielding team might want to use that strategic timeout?
When the broadcasters want to go bad, but
yeah, maybe,
possibly. The only situation I can think of it, in a cricketing context where you'd want to play that is if you've just got 2 batsmen looking reasonably set and you just want to find a way of trying to break the rhythm up a bit.
So the next one I'm going to go to, which is the 7th one there, is perhaps one of more fundamental nature to the rules of the game as we know them, and perhaps a little bit controversial. So with normal cricket, when you get caught, if you've crossed in your run, then that stands, and the new batter facing will be that which is at the receiving end. But now, caught dismissals, the non-striker must return to their original end, even if the 2 batters crossed. What do you think of that one, Rich?
Not a fan of it, actually. I think with most of these, I think it's fairly common sense, but this is the one that's actually sort of tinkering with the rules of the game rather than the format. I think that the nuance at the end of a run chase where you have a set batter on strike who's off strike, the guy at the other end might try and sort of just get any contact on it and not really worried even if he gets out caught, because it's all about getting the set batter back on strike. And so I think by taking this out, it sort of changes that strategy a little bit. I don't really see why it's necessary. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one.
My
So
only
I'm the
thought on
opposite,
it,
actually. I think this kind of puts right one of the just slightly weird rules of cricket that, I don't know, feels like it was sort of hung over from the days of when W.G. Grace couldn't be bothered to walk back to to his original position. So I don't mind this, to be honest. I think it, if it means that you kind of understand it a little bit more as the casual viewer, somebody's just been out, and so therefore somebody else comes in to take his place, facing the bowling.
my thought on it is that it might result in more hat tricks, I suppose. That might be one of the reasons behind it, because you're going to have the unset batter facing automatically. Don't know.
Possibly.
The next couple are more on the sort of the format of the tournament. Tied matches in the group stage, we'll see people get a point each. So there will be draws in the first 64 games of the tournament. But then in the eliminator and the final, that's on the 20th and the 21st of August, there will be what we would know as a super over, but they're calling it a super 5. I don't think there's any controversy there, so I'll move on. But if the super 5 is tied, they'll play another one. So you could have a super 10. And then the team who finished higher in the group stage would then be awarded the victory. Is it possible in the final that we have the absolute anticlimax of a super 10 followed by who did best in the league?
Who did best a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
I've been to the final where it came to a boundary count, and that was not anticlimactic. So I think if we have a super 10 in the final, then
we'll feel we've had a good tournament.
We've had a good day.
You're probably all right. You're probably right, I suppose. The next one, the dreaded rain effect that we occasionally get it in this country. That they would use an amended Duckworth-Lewis system algorithm if there were rain to adjust the game. I don't think that's anything controversial. We haven't seen that though, have we?
No, I think that makes sense.
Calculate it.
I trust the mathematicians to get that right.
Clever people.
They did have some issues with it when 2020 first came in that the DLS hadn't. Sorry, the DRS. No, I do mean DLS hadn't quite caught up with the higher scoring rates of T20. So you did get some quirky rain affected matches in the early stages of like the T20 international tournaments. But I think they've sorted that out now. So I like that they've amended the algorithm already. And
both Duckworth and Lewis are still very active using this, so I hope they'd be absolutely involved with the ECB and getting that right from the word go. You mentioned DRS by accident, but it is a feature, and we haven't seen this in domestic cricket before. So DRS, the decision review system, that is going to be used for the first time in domestic cricket, and a third umpire will monitor no balls. That's quite important, I think, especially because we know the effect of no balls in the short format.
Yeah, I like it. DRS adds something to the game. I think it's used very well now in cricket. I'm glad to see it there.
Yeah, clearly a no ball will still generate a free hit system. So it could be a genuinely match changing event, and you don't want that to be an area for mistakes. So you can absolutely have someone else monitoring it. The next two are on timekeeping, and we knew this was a big part of the competition. So each match in the daily doubleheader, as we know, almost all of the games are women's game mid-afternoon, then men's game in the evening, or slightly different at the weekends. They're going to have their own time slot such that no match can run into the other. Is that a broadcaster thing, do you think?
I think it's a combination of broadcaster pressure, but also they're trying to do quite a lot of kind of events between the two games. So obviously running to a tight schedule. So I imagine they're just trying to put the pressure on to make sure that the first game doesn't seep into the next.
But it's good news for the women's games.
In particular, if you've got some rain affected matches, you don't get started on time with your first game. If there's been a bit of rain around and drying the pitch, then you don't just play a full game and then end up playing the second game kind of just when it finishes.
Yeah, that is a good point.
It's tighter broadcast schedule, isn't it? And then at that point.
Yeah, so you could end up in a situation where a women's match gets washed out completely, and then they play the full men's game, depending on how the weather works. So I imagine that could be a bit controversial if that happens. People are saying, why didn't you just delay? But, fair enough.
It could work both ways as well. And I think what this does do for the women's game is it means that they're not pushed aside when the next game is starting for the broadcast rights, which I think is important.
Well, they are pushed aside.
Yes, actually, in some ways it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
You know? Yeah, it's like actually,
You've had your slot.
it's now dry, but we're going to play the men's game now. Sorry.
Well, no, but it could work both ways, is what I mean. They have a protected broadcast slot within which, if they're overrunning, that's the problem. So they'll solve it.
I don't think they're likely to start late because
no
one had arrived on time. It's not like your game of.
I'm confusing myself again. Oh God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This last one though is a major change, and it's addressing an area of the game that I think a lot of people have had a concern with over a long time, which is that over rates or 5 rates, whatever.
I know. I thought the word over had been banished, but it's crept back in. It's as if it's been around for hundreds of years. But never mind.
Yeah. But if they're behind their rate, if they're in danger of running over their time slot, then they could be penalised by being told to field with one fewer player outside of the circle, the 30-yard circle or whatever it is, from the point the penalty is incurred. So again, potentially quite a big effect on the game, right?
Yeah, and from the way I read this, it feels like it's for the rest of the game. So you don't want to get behind the rate early.
No.
No, you're going to be your fielding placements are going to be severely limited. So I think this obviously slow over rates. There's nothing worse. So something had to be done about it, particularly given it's one of the big things around the 100 was that it was a nice tight format that was kind of fit into an evening TV slot. So if this is going to be the incentive that the captains need to get on with it and get their field set and get going, then should be good. It'll be interesting to see if it gets, the threat of it is enough to speed anyone up, or whether it actually gets enforced.
One interesting thing I find is that quite often over rates are so slow, not only because of the fielding side, but also the batting side of running out drinks and helmets and hats,
bit of gardening,
every over transition, and sometimes even mid over, people are running drinks out. So will there be pressure on the batting side not to be allowed to run out new gloves and drinks with the frequency that we see at the minute? Because otherwise that could be, if a fielding side is struggling in terms of their over rate, then it could be a tactic, couldn't it, to try and slow them down even further as a batting side.
We can but see. I think this is possibly the one rule that will most easily translate to other formats, though. Could you see that sort of, in the past it's just been fines and so forth, and occasionally a docked point in a competition. This one could be a more practical effect in the longer term.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it's going to sharpen the attention of the captain on the fielding side, isn't it?
We'll see how it goes. The one I haven't read out is perhaps the one that's raised most smiles around the area, or the bazaars with its release, which is that the toss does not have to take place in the middle. So very quickly, where are you going to hold the toss for the first game of the 100, Ollie?
Slightly off centre, just off.
10 yards away from where you would have held before.
Yeah.
No, obviously nobody told club cricketers this, because I've seen plenty of games that have been tossed up in the bar or in the car park.
Yeah, I wonder whether they're going to do all sorts of funky things, and there'll be celebrity coin toss events in Trafalgar Square and all sorts. We'll see. Yeah. Why not?
I think in the Big Bash they use a bat, don't they? Just throw a bat in the air.
Yeah, they do.
Why not? Does it matter? It's tossing a coin. Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Okay, a quick canter through some of those playing conditions as released. I apologise for my confusedness in the middle, but you've helped me as always, Ollie. Rich, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed that content, we've got plenty more coming, so do give us a subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the 100 Club.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.